Hey everyone, so MCA here. Maybe some of you didn't see one of the last videos that I posted, and you are unaware that you are able to follow me now on my Instagram handle, which I'll put down here at the bottom of the screen, and as well as if I have blessed you, helped you, taught you something on this channel, and you desire to be a blessing to me or want to help this channel grow. I am going to leave my Cash App down at the bottom of the screen as well. If you feel so inclined to do so and give a donation, you may. You do not have to. It's your choice. Okay, so I want to talk to you today because there is a likelihood that you have been playing for some time and you aren't getting better and you're getting frustrated. And even though you've been playing for a long time, you know someone else who started at the same time as you and is light years ahead of you. Or someone that may have started after you, and you can see that they're starting to pick up and they're taking off and they're preparing to pass you. That can be very frustrating. And so you jump on YouTube and you watch various videos and you try to find the connection and you can't understand why you're not getting better. After all, there are so many phenomenal bass teachers out there. I won't mention any names, but let's say like Soul MCA. And I'll tell you, even the best teachers, as great as some of these teachers are on the internet, on YouTube, they may even, be posting a lesson about one thing today, another thing tomorrow. And so you need a specific tool that I think is going to help you navigate your practice time and help you get better, because you're probably frustrated and so you don't practice, or you keep practicing the same thing and so you don't practice, or you think you're practicing and you're not really practicing. And you may look like this person in this example right here that we're about to go to. So here we can see a tool, some form of a chart. And this chart has some dates, it has some core activities, BPM, time, all of that good stuff. This is the practice log of, let's say, Tim. All right. And so Tim, he practiced in January. He wanted to work on some arpeggios. He started to work on his arpeggios at a very slow BPM, and he wanted to work on 2-octave arpeggios. Now, he only worked on it for 5 minutes. He thought it was pretty cool. Tim doesn't practice again until February. And in February, Tim decides that he wants to now work on circle of fourths and identifying them on his bass. All right, he doesn't do that for as long. He says, this is hard. It's too complicated. I don't want to do this. The next month, Tim discovers chords. He discovers a great video by a great teacher on YouTube, and they're teaching chords, and he really catches on to it. And so he begins to spend a little more time than he ever has in his practice time working on chords. And he begins to figure out some triads, and, he thinks that it's pretty cool. And so the next day, now he's motivated. He sees some kind of something he likes. He seems like he's making some progression. So now he's moved to alternating between the major and the minor triads. Puts in a little bit more time, and he thinks that he's getting it. A couple of things happen in Tim's life. Tim eventually gets back to his practice time, and now it's April. A few weeks have passed by, and he's ready to pick up where he left off. Chords, and he tries to jump in, and now he's forgotten one of the triads. You could be Tim. Now some of your practice time is you relearning something that you already learned. Here is the problem with Tim. Tim is not aware of what he's doing in his practice time, all right? I just made this log so that you could see what Tim is doing in his practice time, but Tim may not be documenting his practice time at all. And so for a long time, I thought I did not need a practice log. I thought, okay, I just practice whatever the case is, and the brain is very interesting. The brain can make you think less time has passed than it has. The brain can make you think that you've spent more time on something than you think that you need to. And so a practice log is going to be what helps you stay accountable to yourself. Maybe you don't have a bass teacher. Maybe you don't have someone else that's on you, helping you out, a good friend that's saying, hey, you got to get better. Hey, you got to get better. Maybe the MD at your church isn't on you to get better, and you want to get better yourself. A practice log is the greatest way to do that, because like Tim here, you can see how much time has passed in between the last time you practiced. You can see what you practiced the last time. You can see the speed that you practiced it at. You can see the ways that you practiced it or how you practiced it, how long you practiced, any kind of insight if he were to document it properly. So now I want to show you another example. Let's make this person Jeff, all right? Jeff is going to be a little bit better about having a practice time. He tries to set it fairly consistently every day. He tries to spend about the same amount of time every day practicing. And let's see the differences that we'll see with Jeff versus what we saw with Tim. So here we have Jeff, and Jeff has practiced for 4 days in a row, then took a little bit of a break, or maybe life happened and then he had another day that he practiced. But let's look more deeply at Jeff here. Jeff practiced arpeggios the very first day at 56 beats per minute. He did a 2-octave arpeggios for 20 minutes. He thought, okay, this is cool. The next day he comes back, he works on arpeggios again. He takes it up a little faster than the last time. He's working on the arpeggios, but now he's trying to do that same arpeggio forward and backwards. Works on it 10 more minutes. And I want to note here that although it's good to get, 30 minutes to an hour of practice or more if you can, if you only have 20 minutes, that's cool. Just use your time wisely. I'm just using 30 because it's a nice round number here, okay? I don't want you to start thinking that the biggest difference between Tim and Jeff here is that one is going for 30 minutes or like some arbitrary number is the difference maker. No, it's what they're doing with the time that they have, okay? So 30 minutes, and he's starting to reinforce, he feels like he's starting to reinforce the proper fingering for arpeggios. So the next day, he comes back and he works on arpeggios again. Even though he's starting to get it, he has it under his hands, he's going to come back and work on it again. But now he wants to get something new. So he's starting to work on circle of fourths. Here is where we get bogged down with our practice time. Sometimes we try to beat a dead horse over the head, and we keep arpeggios. Oh, I want to wait until I get it perfect before I move on to something else. No, start working on multiple things at one time so you don't get frustrated, lose any kind of momentum or zeal to keep playing. Try to get something else new when you're playing. So he introduces circle of fourths, still doing the 2-octave arpeggio, but now he's spending less time on it. Notice he went from 20 to 30, now only giving it 10 minutes because it's just a review. I already know how to do this, but I want to refresh it, keep it in my playing, keep it under my hands, and now I'm going to identify fourths on the bass, and I'm going to spend 20 minutes on that because that's something new that I'm doing today that I didn't do before. And just like Tim, Jeff thinks that it's hard as well. The next day he comes back and he does arpeggios and circles of fourths. All right, this time he's like, you know what? Let me try to crank up something I already know, arpeggios. I'm going to do it again, but now I want to try to do it a little bit different. So I kind of have it under my hands, but I'm going to change the way that I exercise it or do it a little differently. So now he introduces a new fingering for the same arpeggio. So he spends a little bit more time on it than he did the day before. Then he writes a note to himself, okay, I tried a new way to play the arpeggio. Now he comes back to the fourths on the bass, which he was really struggling with the last time. He spends a little bit less time on it this time because he's realizing he's getting frustrated. He's realizing it's getting hard, but he knows that it's something he still has to work on. So he's like, this is hard. I'm not going to use a metronome. I'm really going to try to concentrate, but I know it's frustrating me as well because I'm not getting it. So I'm going to spend a little less time, but I'm going to be slower in that time that I'm doing it so that I can really get this. Takes a couple of days off, comes back. Today he's going to do arpeggios, circle of fourths, and he's going to do chords, okay? So he reviewed the new fingering. Took him a little while to get acclimated to it, spent 12 minutes. So he spent a little bit more time because he had to relearn it. Then he comes back to identifying fourths on the bass. 15 minutes again he spends on it. Still going slow, but starting to make a little progress. So he didn't just completely take it out of his exercise regimen because he wasn't understanding it or couldn't get it. He just starts to break it up a little bit more. Then to kind of reward himself, he throws in chords. I wanted to learn chords, so I spent 3 minutes and I just learned a major triad. Okay. The very next day he comes in and he practices application. He's like, okay, I'm still getting frustrated with this circle of fourth stuff. Rather than just continuing to beat this over the head, let me take a little day off, or even you could have shoved this in your practice time every day. He's going to reward himself by working, by trying to apply the knowledge he has to playing, puts on some random songs that he likes, some of his favorite songs, and just kind of jams out, rewards himself for just jamming. And then he's seeing now some of the work that he's done, how it fits into the music. And he makes a note for himself. Oh, I can use an arpeggio to go from this note to this note. I can use a arpeggio as a passing tone from here to here. Plays his favorite songs. And then he's realizing, oh, I can use that chord I just learned on the bridge portion or the chorus or the verse of this particular song. Makes a document to himself so that the next time he comes and sits down, he knows what he's learned, he knows where he can apply it, and he has some kind of progress to be able to mark what he's learned, what's new, where he wants to go, what else he wants to learn. And so that's how we begin to refresh what we have, what we've already learned. We continue to review it, but continue to push ourselves. You don't want to get stagnant and keep doing it the same way. It's no different than going to the gym or doing an exercise. If you keep walking the same amount of space each day, your body is not going to burn as much calories. It's going to get routine to you, and you might eventually start walking less and less because you know the path. You know what the sights are. If you have muscles, you're not going to get any stronger because you keep just working out the same exact way, the same amount of reps, the same amount of weight. You're not getting any better, but still you can do it with your eyes closed. You're pushing to become a better basis every day. And so I highly urge you all to use a practice log of some sort. For years, I thought I didn't need it. Like I said, I just practiced kind of willy-nilly. And I really thought that I was practicing sometimes. And to be honest, I wasn't. I was playing the same thing every time I got on my bass. Same thing. And then I might do something one day like, oh, I had a eureka moment. Didn't write it down. Come back 2 days later. What was that I was working on? So use a practice log. And on top of that, you also should record yourself, whether it's just audio, whether you want to do it with a visual too. You'll hear the difference between how you sounded in week 1 versus week 2 versus week 3. You just got to keep plugging and playing at it. That is why you are not as good on bass as you should be by this portion. So hopefully, these tips can help you. Record yourself, have a log, try to work on the same things day after day. But then once you get them, try to start to tweak them. All right. But whatever you do, don't just stop doing them. Even if you have to make it just a minute or 3 minutes into your practice time. I actually set a timer. For things I want to tighten up on or just keep under my fingers. And depending on how long I have for that day, I might only do 3 minutes. I might do 2 minutes. I might do 1 minute. When I'm first learning it, I give myself more time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I set that timer, turn off all distractions, turn off my cell phone. I turn off social media, and I just try to really lock in with the instrument. So those are my words of encouragement and advice to you. Hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully you can use this. Now, your practice log does not have to look exactly like mine. Some things that I definitely recommend that you have are the date, of course, what you're working on, the BPM of some sort, because or some kind of way to gauge whether or not you're getting better. So if you want to just do a recording of that, then fine. Come back a couple of days and know whatever. You should always be using a metronome where possible in your practice time, unless, of course, you're trying to get something new in. Make sure that gets under your hands first. But a metronome is a great way to see where you're evolving, to see where you're progressing. I also think that it's a great idea to just have comments, a comment section to just let you know where you are, what you saw. You're going to have a eureka moment, I promise you, where you're like, oh, you could be doing the same thing forever and ever. One day it's going to be like, maybe a shape on a bass jumps out at you differently. Write it down, draw a picture, do something. You're going to help your brain get those connections more. And above all else, if you try to be consistent in your practice, even if it's only 5 minutes a day, be consistent with that 5 minutes a day, because you're going to get those dendrites, going and linking. And then the more and more you do it is the more and more they'll make connections, new connections. And then you're just going to get excited about the progress you're going to start seeing once you can get consistent about it. It takes at least, they say, I've heard different things, 14 days, 21 days to form a habit. Just try to stick with it. And eventually you'll see yourself practicing more and more, to where you may have to start setting a clock to stop practicing. You may forget about other things that are going on. You may forget you're cooking. You may forget a game is on, whatever it is. All right. But good luck to you. Best of luck to you. And I do hope that this is helpful. I'm Soul MCA. I'll see you next time. Take it easy.